Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I want to first appreciate the panel that I was able to listen in this afternoon. My brother Chisanja, David, and of course the CEO, for being able to articulate the purpose of being social entrepreneurs, but also being in position to articulate why you should be members of social entrepreneurs with Fuse. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to say I'm so honored and privileged to be part of this very historical and very important event where we are going to launch the Federation of Uganda Social Entrepreneurs. As we all know, this is definitely a milestone that marks the growing recognition and organization of social entrepreneur in this country. Now, when you look at Fuse, I kept asking myself, Fuse, what do you know about Fuse? Most of us relate Fuse to that fuse that is in the socket, right? And you know its importance. Now, that's what Fuse, in terms of Federation of Uganda Social Entrepreneurs, is going to be acting in terms of the importance. So, ladies and gentlemen, before I say any of my remarks, I want to use this quote that is from the President of Uganda. He says, "You cannot have jobs without wealth. We need a collective struggle to see how we can create wealth." And in all the discussions, what we've had is we need to work together. Isn't that so? So that we can be of relevance, so that we can be of impact, but because of that, so that people can be able to come and do what it means to help in terms of networking, but also supporting. And therefore, on behalf of the Presidential CEO Forum, my board chairman, I would want to say that I stand here representing the only important network of the private sector leaders, but also strong belief that enterprise or entrepreneurs are a tool for transformation. And for that is evident that for any social entrepreneur is relevant in terms of contributing to the social economic development of any country, and especially you in this room, you contribute a lot to the social economic transformation of Uganda. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that social enterprises or entrepreneurs do have a powerful intersection. When I just sat as I walked in this afternoon, the first thing as we were interacting with Kisanja is, do we have a clue how important social entrepreneurs are? And so as we say that you have a powerful intersection, that is where business meets purpose, where profit meets people, and where innovation meets impact. Those are three very good connotations. Where business meets purpose, where profit meets people, and where innovation meets impact. And as such, we need to see how best can we also have innovation meeting the relevance of growing from one stage to another. We need to build significant networking places or spaces that will be able to allow us create wealth, but also be in position to learn. I believe that most of you this morning and this afternoon have been in position to learn one or two things in terms of what it means to pay taxes, in terms of what it means to be certified, in terms of what it means to have an idea that develops into a social entrepreneur enterprise. So as we look at you yourselves, majority of you here are youth, and you need to clap for yourselves because you've taken leap in terms of knowing you matter, but also in terms of knowing that you add value to this country. So the launch today affirms the truth that many of us long known that the future of Uganda development will be co-authored by change makers who are not waiting for change, but leading it. As an author, my book is The CEO in You is a Change Maker. And so it's my pride to see that I relate with most of you that you need to start something that leads to change or you're leading change. And so it's beautiful to know that you do things that not only bring wealth to you, but also bring impact to the rest of the country. So the Federation of Uganda Social Enterprises, or entrepreneurs, will play a critical role in this journey by building united voice. You've all heard from the different speakers speaking about amplified one voice, amplifying visibility, advocating for enabling policy, and strengthening capacity across the sector. And at PCF, this is one thing I want to speak to. Yesterday I had a very good delegation that is led by our own CEO, Mr. Mugera. And so the first thing we shared was we need to know, what is this social entrepreneur about? And it was amazing in terms of their journey, how they've traveled across the globe and they noticed that there's a gap. And so my communication to him and the gentleman they're with is, this is how we get to build synergies and be of impact, because now we know. So at PCF, what we do is policy advocacy, but formulate policies that will shape the nation. And our pledge was we will be working out on a social entrepreneur framework that will lead this section to another level. So the PCF, we do recognize the importance of creating ecosystems that nurture both traditional and social entrepreneurs. And that is why we continue to engage government and private sector on key reforms that will unlock opportunities, reduce barriers, and foster inclusive economic growth. When the president was officiating at the launch of PCF, the first thing he mentioned is, I'm glad that now I have my indigenous people, or indigenous Ugandans, having a platform that will not only be able to sit and network on different issues, but now will be at the forefront of initiating policies. And so as PCF, that is what we do now. We initiate policies that government is in position to implement. I'll cite a few, and I'll start with the one of private equity. So in the last 2.5 years, we've conducted 5 biennials. These biennials are hosted by His Excellency himself. But what we do, we look at patent issues that are affecting the private sector and then present them with solutions. So in our second biennial, which he hosted in his own home in Intunga, Moirenga, we brought about the issue of private equity. And it was his first time actually to learn about private equity. But we know most businesses in Uganda are actually sponsored through private equity to flourish. The social entrepreneurs you all are engaging in, I believe 1 or 2 have been supported by private equity or will be supported by private equity. But the challenge has been that then this income, when it comes along, it is being taxed. And when you tax the issues you've been mentioning about, then you're not attracting more private equity. So we came up with a resolution. And so the financial year 2024-2025, we were able to inform the bill into this concluded financial year, and there's an exemption of any income derived from private equity. You should clap for that, because then you'll be able to attract more people to support you. The examples, Binzika. Binzika is really flourishing because of private equity. Our own CIPLA factory is flourishing because of private equity. And as such, we need to improve the environment through policies that can be able to promote more. We were able to support in the policy of VAT, zero VAT on all manufactured e-mobility, either parts or even the motorbikes and the cars. And so some of you can be players on the side, you know? You have a business that will be able to maybe bring in a software or any business that can be able to support in terms of e-mobility. And that is all social entrepreneurship. So we encourage you, please, to see how best can we collaborate. And that is the very reason when Mugera visited yesterday at the office, I mentioned to him it's for those resonating reasons that PCF will champion the conversation of being in position to formulate the policy that will support social entrepreneurs. So ladies and gentlemen, let us celebrate this launch, not just as an event, but also commitment to build Uganda where the business do not just thrive, but also uplift, where success is measured not only by profit margins, but also lives changed and communities transformed. For every social entrepreneur business, wherever it's established, we always know that there is change in that community, not only in job employment, but also in terms of how they behave or in terms of how they're able to interact and do things the right way. So to the founders of the Federation of these Uganda Social Entrepreneurs, thank you for your vision, your leadership and your courage, also to formalize a movement that has long been making silent impact. We know that social entrepreneurs have been in existence, but now we are going to have a voice, yeah? Where we all come together and come up with strategies that are given relevance. So we look forward to working with you as allies, as partners, and fellow change makers. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to end with a few remarks of some points in terms of collaboration, which I've already mentioned that we will. This morning I was watching TV, and there was one presenter who mentioned 3 very key nuggets, and I found them very impactful. He said, who you see will determine who you will meet. So today you need to find out, who have you been able to see in this room? And how is that person going to determine the next person you're going to meet? Because that means networking, that means you're in space of influence, that means you're able to meet someone who is going to change your life. The other point was, the degree is not just enough, but the decision that you make. When my brother Kisanja was starting his remarks, his panel discussion, he mentioned about the PhDs and degrees and what you're doing, but what else can you be able to do beyond the influence of theory at that level and make it practical? The people who started Fuse traveled across the world to be able to learn something and bring it back. And here you are as members. I saw how they were trying to take you the processes of being members. So please join and be that voice of change, the voice that will make Uganda a different country, the voice that will build so much of social entrepreneurs so that we become a model that will attract others to come and see what is good that we are doing. And when you conclude with Warren Buffett's quote, he says, for you to be able to want to make money when you're sleeping, it is important you start now, or else you'll work endlessly until you die. So you need to start these ideas that even when you're sleeping, actually you're making money, and it is possible. Every single successful entrepreneur in this country, across the borders, has been able to start with that single idea. But now they are who they are. We have good, successful examples that we can mention, or 1 or 2. The earlier lady from finance talked about the ATMs. The president has changed that to FATMs. That is full monetization to agro-industrialization. The F means full monetization. And so social entrepreneurs start with that. How can we build full monetization? What are we doing that will attract income in the things that we are doing? I heard David here saying that, you need to be able to save. Save 1 shilling, save another, and you'll be able to be successful. He talked about the IGA, that is the income generating activities. Some of us have decided to move on and do much of the education and forgot that actually what you're studying should be able to generate an idea that will employ your brother, that will employ your sister, and employ any other of your activities. I ran a PR firm that celebrated 15 years last year. But right now, I have my son as a consultant who finished his master's last year. I have my sister as the principal accountant who also has a master's. So that is the one way of being able to create opportunities, but also we've created the synergy around the community where the PR firm is, so that we can create more relevance with that community in terms of social impact. So, which is very important. Look out at the spaces you're in and see how you can enhance them better. As I have promised and said, we are joining Fuse to ensure that we have a policy framework to support social enterprises in Uganda.
Congratulations that we have officially launched the Federation of Uganda Social Entrepreneurs.
We can join by clapping our hands and welcoming this new baby, Fuse, that is being launched today to start operating and helping us realize these opportunities and all that we've been yearning for as social entrepreneurs.